Welcome back to the Path of Excellence course. This is Bart Allen Berry, your instructor, and we're going to now start taking a look at interpreting in a little bit more detail the meaning of your overall mean score and the way to read the chart and to kind of look at the impact chart and pull a lot more information from it as it relates to you auditing yourself. So again, here we are at the customer satisfaction behavior curve. We've got these three main zones, okay, and it's very easy to think about them. Dissatisfaction, that's a negative one, that's why it's red. Indifference is in the middle, kind of the crossover between those two things. No return and recommend rate effect, and the satisfaction zone, which is where we all want to be. So when our scores come back, for our overall mean scores from taking the organizational audit, there are different sort of sub-zones within this chart that are certainly important to pay attention to. The first one is a 1.0 to 3.0, and this should alert is the name of this zone. If your audit scores in this range are between a 1 and a 3 with your overall mean score, this should signal an emergency for you as a supplier, okay? These low scores, they really signal a fundamental need to examine your entire product or service delivery system, because no supplier can hope to maintain a relationship with a customer unless, you know, they're the sole provider of an in-demand product or service. If you're the only water well in the middle of 1,000 miles of desert, maybe you can get away with it, but otherwise, failure of you as a supplier is imminent. Although in most cases, you know, studying areas where the supplier scored lowest might be helpful for improvement. But here, scores for all of the values are so low that the ongoing existence of any potential relationship with customers is in question. So customers are experiencing more than inconvenience. In fact, they're in a painful losing scenario. They may be hostile. There's negative and return and recommend rates are going to reflect a rapidly deteriorating reputation as a supplier and a possible widespread motivation by customers to take punitive action against you. If these are your scores as a supplier, okay? That's the reality down at that end. The next category, 3.0 to 4.0, is, you know, you should be smelling plenty of smoke. Although customer satisfaction is also pretty low here, customers are not quite as hostile as in the previous example, and customers are going to express their dissatisfaction by not returning because of a loss of confidence and irritation. This supplier is experiencing a loss of market share for sure. Closer examination of the audit, however, is going to reveal several weak areas that need to be repaired to at least move scores out of the zone of dissatisfaction into the zone of indifference. So these are low scores that are affecting the supplier negatively. Customers will not return and recommend you to others. It will take a serious, pretty strong campaign to turn these numbers around. Our next area is about a 4.1 to a 6.0, and we call this not working to potential. Okay, these scores are often seen in older suppliers who haven't retooled to stay current with the best practices in the industry. There's little innovation coupled with no recent improvement in product or service. So it kind of creates a stale and vulnerable supplier that doesn't do much to make themselves memorable to customers. So mediocre is probably the most accurate description for a supplier with scores in this range. It's not unusual for morale in the supplier's organization to be as low, you know, to be low with feelings of futility, for overcoming organizational inertia or resignation that things will never change around here. You know, you can feel it when you go into companies like this. It's almost like there's a black cloud over them, and everybody's depressed and, you know, in a bad mood. And by no means does this supplier have a secure hold on market share if their scores fall in this range. Okay, the reality is that crisis may be just around the corner, and this supplier needs to get to work on an improvement plan before, you know, before it truly gets ugly. Okay, so our next zone right here, and this kind of starting to get a little bit green, is a 6.10 to 7.80. okay? And remember that, I'm giving these things kind of interesting scores here, but there is a standard deviation of 0.30 of a percent, So when we get close to 7.0, that could easily be an 8.1, or it could be a 7.5. So, we're identifying these zones that strongly correlate with the scores and the behaviors and so forth from all of our research. But keep in mind that if you're close to the edge, that's okay. You might be over the edge a little bit in either direction. But this is certainly going to give you a lot of insight into, generally how things should be going for you if you're in this particular section. And what the point I want to make about this, it's starting to get green here in this section from 6.10 to 7.8, is that still it's neutral as far as a return and recommend rate effect. A lot of customers that we work with will, they'll do a customer satisfaction survey, and if it's designed right and whatnot, they'll find out that they're, somewhere on close to a 6, and maybe they do some things and make some quick changes in survey again, and boy, they got all the way up to a 6.9, and they're expecting a proportional increase in business because they've increased their customer satisfaction. Well, really what we've learned is that nothing really happens until you push beyond this 7.9 threshold here, see? So a 6.1 to 7.8, a lot of businesses that have been around for a while kind of fall into this category. We call this confident complacency, okay? So suppliers who score in this range on the audit have not completely embraced customer satisfaction, but they're not in any immediate danger of failing either because of negative customer feelings. The challenge is that unless there's a crisis on the horizon or a big opportunity, it's hard to get them motivated for the additional effort to push into more positive territory. So additionally, if you're past an overall score of 6.0, the perception might be that you're in positive territory already. And that sort of false sense means little more than, the supplier seems to be holding their ground. So there are several values that are scoring well, and customers may be patronizing you as a supplier because of, maybe your convenient location or a loss leader sale prices or other particular benefit. But to enjoy world-class levels of satisfaction with accompanying positive word of mouth and return business, the supplier needs to push their scores higher, again, across that 7.9 threshold. So it should be noted that improving satisfaction scores to world-class levels, up to the 9.24, is not easy, or everybody would be doing it, okay? It takes a concerted effort, it's focused energy to get world-class results. There may be, however, low-hanging fruit where some things can be easily improved in this case, which this audit may reveal. So when scores are this high, there might be one or two things that can be done to push the supplier solidly into the zone of positive return and recommend rate, preference, and loyalty, okay? So our next zone is a 7.9 to 9.0, okay? And obviously this is where everybody wants to be. The supplier is doing well. Okay, preference begins. They're satisfying customers. Some customers are very satisfied. Be confident that that's what's happening. Okay, and they're performing well in most areas and very well in others. So this supplier can expect anywhere from 1 in 5 customers on the low end. Okay, 1 in 5 customers to return again, all the way up to 4 in 5, or 100% of their customers coming back to return again. But on the return and recommend rate, side, the unsolicited testimonials that are going to be happening are going to start to rise higher and higher and higher. So you can go well beyond the 100% of your customer benefit by making them more satisfied. So basically when the supplier's gotten this far in creating positive customer impressions, it's not unfamiliar with good management practices and hard work. Now the supplier can make the decision to push satisfaction levels even higher, to extend their lead over competitors and sneak up on industry benchmarks and become known as the best. Okay, so in this zone, again, we're going from a 1 in 5, the customer is going to return to buy again or recommend you to others, all the way up, perhaps past 100% of your customers are going to come back and buy from you again. You know, in the reality of life, that may be a hard thing to absolutely happen, but the positive effect of their recommend rate will drive more business to you than you had before. So it'll be different customers that are coming in based on the experiences that these customers are having. So very, very high return rate for the actual customer that comes in, and then a very high recommend rate. Okay, so finally in our next section here, we've got the 9.1. Okay, so you're sneaking up on that world-class status all the way to a 10. Okay, and all we can say about you at this level, if this is your overall score, is wow. You know, you're the benchmark. This is where greatness lives. As a supplier, you're doing it right. You've consistently made customer satisfaction an imperative throughout all dimensions of your product and service delivery. The name of you as a supplier is likely to be widely renowned as the industry leader. You can command premium pricing or other advantages and enjoy high levels of free word-of-mouth advertising. Competitors are probably far behind and not even in the same league. All right, so suppliers in the 9.1 to 10 range should be leveraging the strength of their position to drive further research and development into evolving their product or service to continue to own that leading edge. So world class, according to all of our measurements and calculations and statistics from all these studies, is referred to as a 9.24 or higher by customers. So suppliers who achieve this rating can confidently use the term world class in their marketing. They may find that it's often others who use this term when referring to them, as their name will be synonymous with very high quality. So there are a few organizations that really enjoy the rarefied air of overall satisfactions as high as 9.5 or higher. Okay, and it requires incredible energy and systematic and comprehensive commitment to achieve and maintain satisfactions up at that final 5.0. But it really is worth it to be the best. You know, these are the world-class supplier brand names that we've all become familiar with.